In this video, we're going to look at a word problem that involves the volume and the surface area of a rectangular prism. The problem we're looking at here is that James keeps his pet snake in a terrarium with the dimensions shown below. The terrarium has a length of 50 centimeters, a width of 20 centimeters, and we also know that there is 8 centimeters of sand in the bottom of that terrarium. Now, James is going to be upgrading and getting a new terrarium for his snake that's going to be larger than the original. The base of the new terrarium is going to be 64 by 25 centimeters, and James is going to be transferring all of the sand out of the original terrarium and into the new terrarium. What we need to find out is how deep the sand will be in that new terrarium. So what we know here is we know that there's going to be 8 centimeters of sand in the original terrarium. We need to find out how much space that sand is taking up in the bottom of that terrarium. Another way to state that is we need to find out what the volume is of that sand in cubic centimeters. And we're going to find that by using our formula for finding the volume of a rectangular prism and multiplying the length times the width times the height of that sand. And once again, we know there's 8 centimeters of sand in the bottom of this terrarium. So in order to find the volume, we are going to be multiplying the length of 50 centimeters times the width of 20 centimeters times the height of 8 centimeters. And 50 times 20 is going to give us 1,000. Multiply that times 8. And that is going to give us a total volume of 8,000 cubic centimeters. And we'll use a capital V for volume. So we know that the amount of space that this sand is taking up is 8,000 cubic centimeters. And we're going to be transferring all of that sand out of the original terrarium and into the new terrarium. So what we need to do, we know that the sand in the original terrarium was 8 centimeters tall or 8 centimeters deep. Now the new terrarium is going to be longer and it's going to be wider than the original terrarium. So the sand that was 8 centimeters deep is going to be spread out along a wider and longer surface, and that height or that depth of sand is going to be reduced. So the new height of that sand is going to be less than 8 centimeters. In order to find out exactly what the height or depth of that sand is going to be, we are going to annotate on this new terrarium. We don't know what that new depth is going to be or new height. We're just going to use a variable of h. We're going to use our volume formula once again. And we know the volume is going to equal length times width times height. What we do know is that volume, the current volume is 8,000 cubic centimeters. Volume becomes 8,000. The length is 64 centimeters. And the width is 25 centimeters. We don't know what that new height is going to be, other than it's going to be less than 8. We're going to leave that as a variable of h. Order of operations, we're going to work through this equation and isolate the variable of h. 64 times 25 is going to give us a product of 1,600. Drop the 8,000 cubic centimeters down, and our unknown variable of h is coming straight down. Now, in order to isolate h, we've got to undo the multiplication on the right-hand side of that equation. We undo multiplication with division. So we are going to divide every single term in this equation by the coefficient of h, which is 1,600. And working on the right-hand side first, 1,600 divided by 1,600 gives us an invisible number value of 1, invisible coefficient of 1. We still have our variable of h. That comes straight down. And that is going to be equal to 8,000 divided by 1,600. And that is going to give us a quotient of 5. So we can actually rewrite this as 1h, or our h variable, our height, is going to be equal to 5 centimeters. And we did say that our height was going to be less than 8 centimeters. 5 is less than 8. That does tell us we're probably close, but we need to make sure our answer is accurate and exact. The way we're going to check our work here, we're going to go back to our original volume formula. Volume is equal to length times width times height. We're going to replace our variable of h with 5 and see what that product is going to be. So everything's still color-coded. Let's see. Length of 64 times our width of 25 centimeters times our height of 5. And that's going to give us our volume. And we're looking for 8,000 for our volume. So 64 times 25, we know that was going to be 1,600. Multiply that times 5. That is actually going to give us a product of 8,000, which is the 8,000 cubic centimeters that was in the original terrarium. That makes our answer, or that shows our work coming full circle, proves that our height is going to be 5 centimeters. And we know that depth of the sand in the new terrarium is going to be 5 centimeters deep or 5 centimeters high, whether you're looking at it bottom up or top down. All right, so the purpose of this video and the purpose of this problem was to find a single dimension measurement, which in this case was the height, if we were given the volume and the measurement of 2 other dimensions, which were the length and the width of these terrariums.